Hey, this is Chris. So, because I used to be a professional trader, a lot of my friends often come to me and say, should I buy Afterpay or Zip shares? Now, this probably isn't that surprising given that these two are the most traded shares at the moment in Australia on the ASX. CommSec has recently said that they're the top traded shares, and NAB Trade, two of the biggest brokers. So there's obviously thousands of people buying and selling these two shares every day. My answer to my friends goes something like this. If you have a look at the history of the most popular shares owned by mum and dad retail investors over time, it doesn't really signal that these are good shares to buy. Now, I'm old enough to remember back in the late 90s and early 2000s, the most popular shares back then were companies like Davnet, Solution 6, Sausage Software, Melbourne IT. The reason why you've probably never heard of these companies is because most of them don't exist. Unfortunately, a lot of those companies went belly up, or they at least fell 80 or 90% after they fell out of the most popular lists. Again, then in the around 2006, 2007, the most popular traded shares were uranium shares. Companies like Paladin and ERA. Again, these were companies that were the hottest stocks of the time, but then eventually fell 80 or 90% over time. Back in 2017, I remember tons of people coming to me and saying, should I buy Bitcoin? Again, it was the most hot investment that year and then fell 80 to 90%. The common theme is that often the most popular retail stocks aren't the ones to own. They're not the ones that really have a very good risk reward because everyone already owns them. It's like when you go to the Melbourne Cup and bet on the favourite that everyone's already backed, and they've backed it all the way down to $3 or $2. Even if you win, you're not going to earn that much, and the chances are you're going to be disappointed. So my tips for anyone is generally to avoid the most popular shares. They're not going to really give you a great bang for your buck. If you are super passionate about them and you really believe in them, then first of all, you need to make sure your position size in them is small enough. You don't want to put all of your wealth in these things because they can fall by a long way. My general rule of thumb is you shouldn't own more than 2% of your portfolio in one stock, but even if you want to be more aggressive, I definitely wouldn't suggest more than 5% in an individual share, just because otherwise it creates too much risk. And the second tip would be that you probably want to dollar cost average into them. The reason why they're hot now is that everyone owns them. You don't want to just own it when everyone else does. You probably want to start to buy as well when they're less popular. So don't put all your money into them now. Dollar cost average, or buy a small amount gradually, let's say over 6 months or a year. And the last tip is, if you really want to buy these things, you need to have a long-term time horizon, because even if you are right and they are eventually successful, the chances are you're going to have to wear a lot of pain along the way. A great example is Amazon.com. Obviously a pretty sensational company now and one of the biggest companies in the world, but in 1999 to 2000, the share price fell by 95%. So in order to enjoy the success of that company today, you had to see it fall by 95% in your portfolio first, which is why small sizing, dollar cost averaging, and having a long-term time horizon is really important when you buy hot stocks. If you like content like this, subscribe to our channel or give this video a like. Thanks.